And away we go.
I still want my cookie.
Yep, you're not getting your cookie. I told her we would get cookies. She would get cookies after we record and post this. So.
And a BLT.
And you're not getting a fucking BLT. So no, it's yeah. She'll get a cookie. I should put up a survey. Like, what do you think? Should Holly get a cookie or not? So we'll see.
Help me out, guys.
Yeah, I think cookies okay possibly, but BLT I'm not too sure about it. Because she earlier she's like so we ran. We did a long run this morning.
Which we haven't done in a while.
We have not done runs in a long time. We took a break from them for a while, not for any specific reason. We've got a couple of bikes in the house, like an air assault bike and a spin bike. We've got obviously all the weights and everything. So we have all the equipment. We now essentially have 2 gym memberships. One that we pay for, one that we get because I work at a gym. And we just haven't been running much. Like, we walk, but we just haven't really been running. But we're, we have a vacation to Florida coming up soon, and we're both trying to get, beach ready for September, which I don't think anybody's ever said that sentence before. But we're trying to get beach ready. So one of the things that we're doing is kind of cranking up, just activity, period, but especially like cardiovascular activity. Mm-hmm. So we ran today, and after not having run for a while, she did like a little over 4 miles.
Yeah.
And I did like 5.5. We're both, not starving now, but we were both starving earlier. Anyways, somewhere in the mix of being hungry and running 4.25 miles, she thinks that she deserves a cookie.
No,
so,
I had a craving for a cookie.
That's right. She had a craving specifically for chocolate chip cookie.
Which I never have.
So this is the battle that I fight every day. So
husband and coach.
As I longingly look into the camera. Help. No. So anyways. So episode number 22 of the Nutrient Health Project podcast. My name is Andrew Frisch. This is my wife, Holly Frisch, aka Cookies. Mm-hmm. As always, guys, if you find anything of value in today's episode, if our banter entertains you, or if anything in this podcast is helpful, entertaining, educational, emotional, whatever, please, subscribe, give us ratings and reviews. It takes 2 seconds, and we really appreciate it. And feel free to share these on social media as well and tag us at nutrient_official. Also, as always, if you have questions for the podcast, don't hesitate to send them to nutrientpodcast@gmail.com. Again, nutrientpodcast@gmail.com. So today's episode, episode number 21, we are officially in the top 1%, right, of all podcasts ever released. Now that last episode I talked about only 10% of all podcasts that have started make it past episode 3, and of the 10% that make it there, only 10% of that 10% makes it past episode 20. So here we are at episode 21. So
hence why we should have cookies.
And she's just going to keep hammering the cookie thing all damn day, I can tell. Looks like we're getting cookies. We do need to go to the grocery store, so maybe we'll find a cookie somewhere in there. A cookie. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll get you a chocolate chip.
A chocolate chip.
This is the tyrant that I am. So, episode number 20, last week, we talked about stress and kind of stress's impact on your body. Just, again, a brief kind of surface level science as we talked about last week. This week, we are talking about how to mitigate that stress. So what do we do to mitigate the stress? And maybe some ideas as far as what we do could help you benefit. So
it's been a week since we've talked about this. So why is it important? Why is lowering stress important?
Well, so great question. Again, so episode 20 goes over some of the more detailed stuff on that, and you can learn about kind of your HPA axis, your hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. Just so everyone knows, I have had trouble talking all day today. I have been tripping over my tongue. We trained a client after we did the run, and I don't even know. It's like one of those days where the mouth, the words are coming out of the mouth quicker than the tongue can hang on. So, so it's going to be a fun episode. But episode 20 is a great one to kind of go back and review if you're interested on how stress affects the body. But the long story short version, the TLDR, too long didn't read if you're not familiar with that acronym, but the TLDR version of it is basically that chronic stress can lead to insulin resistance. So, and when we think of chronic stress, I think most people think of stress as, like just like work stress or family stress. But there are a lot of different types of stress. And again, we cover those on episode 20. So go back and check that one out if you need to. But so the main thing that I do want to talk about as far as like why lowering stress is important that we didn't really touch on last week was, at least I didn't go too in depth on it, is chronic stress leading to insulin resistance. And that happens at the cellular level. So again, this is a little bit of surface level science that I want to get into. But so think of, most people have heard of insulin, right? It's a pretty common one. But people aren't as familiar with things like glucagon or catecholamines. Most people have heard of growth hormone or HGH. I think most people, when they hear HGH, they think of like bodybuilders and things like that. But essentially, every human being, you, I, Holly, Cookies over here, everybody, we have like one hormone that is made for storage, and that's insulin. And then we have 4 that are made for like mobilizing energy. If you want, you can think of it as like insulin and the 4 mobilizers. I think that would be a great band name. So
this is your Amazon warehouse analogy?
Correct. So it's not. I think I had a warehouse analogy last week with the HPA access. It's similar to that, but also completely different at the same time. So, and I'll get into that analogy here in a second, but just a real quick overview of these different storage and breakdown hormones. And the reason this is important is because those breakdown hormones, just to give a quick overview of what we're about to get into, those breakdown hormones, or those mobilizing hormones, are essentially what is suggested to be causing insulin resistance for people that are otherwise like not doing a ton of carbohydrates. Like most people think of insulin resistance, which leads to metabolic syndrome, which leads to type 2 diabetes and a whole host of other issues. Most people think of insulin resistance as coming from too many carbohydrates, right? Or a sedentary lifestyle. You're sitting around, you're eating a bunch, and you get insulin resistance because your body's constantly producing insulin. So this whole stress causing insulin resistance is essentially kind of on the other side of the spectrum. It's not about people who are sedentary, who are sitting around all the time. It's more about people who are exercising maybe too much, who are maybe too low carb too often, who are sleep deprived too long. So the way that happens, again, at the cellular level is it's, again, insulin and the 4 mobilizers. So insulin is the storage hormone. Insulin, it's basically produced by the pancreatic beta cells. Let me go through this list and then we'll get into the analogy. So insulin is created by the pancreatic beta cells. The 4 mobilizers that you have are catecholamines, which if you're not familiar with catecholamines, those are basically like, for this topic, adrenaline and noradrenaline, or epinephrine and norepinephrine, depending on what country you're in. But adrenaline is basically produced by the adrenal medulla, and noradrenaline is produced from like the sympathetic nerves in the body. The second mobilizer is glucagon, which is produced by the pancreatic alpha cells. So insulin is produced by the pancreatic beta cells. Glucagon is by the pancreatic alpha cells. Number 3, the third mobilizer is cortisol, which is also produced from the adrenal medulla. Every time I hear medulla, I always think of Waterboy. You watch that with me, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, medulla oblongata. And he wants to like go tackle Colonel Sanders. You're wrong, Colonel Sanders. So, and then the fourth one, HGH, human growth hormone, is produced by the pituitary gland.
So why does this 1 versus 4 matter?
So now this is the perfect time for the Amazon analogy. So, Amazon warehouse analogy. I need to find a different company. So one of these times Bezos is going to be like, yeah, stop talking about my warehouse. He's going to sue us. So if you think of, insulin as the storage hormone and those 4 other hormones as the mobilizers, again, the catecholamines, glucagon, cortisol, and HGH, think of it in terms of an Amazon warehouse. you have trucks that are coming in and unloading the trucks and filling up the warehouse. Those would be your insulin, right? It's if you take a truck, putting it into the warehouse, and think about the food that you're eating and storing glucose and glycogen and triglycerides in your body, right? In your liver, in your muscle tissues, in your fat cells. Insulin's job is to do that, is to store things. Then you have the mobilizers. Again, it's a 4-to-1 ratio. Those mobilizers, their job is to unload the warehouse and put it onto the truck and get it out. Okay, so insulin comes in, takes stuff off the takes stuff off the truck, puts it into the warehouse. The 4 mobilizers take it out of the warehouse and put it on the truck. Okay, but that 1-to-4 ratio means that, for insulin, there are 4 other things that are kind of like out competing insulin essentially. And so 1 versus 4 means that 4 times the workers are able to unload energy. And at first, this is great, right? If you're working out, or it's real common for us to have an assessment with someone or have a client who they first lost a lot of weight by just basically cleaning up their diet and moving a little bit more and just like eating a reduced amount. And that works initially because those 4 mobilizers are like, hey, we get to work, and they come in and they do everything. What happens chronically over time is like essentially those packages start to kind of pile up on the loading dock, right? Or your bloodstream, if you think about it like this. So over time, that chronic stress, if you're still in that stressed state, and this goes back to the warehouse and fire analogy from last week's episode, but if you're in that state where those 4 mobilizers are constantly being called on, number one, they start to kind of get stressed themselves, but all of that stored energy that they're breaking down is if it's not being utilized, because that's one thing when it comes to fat, like fat loss, you have to mobilize and utilize. So it's up to those 4 mobilizers to take the stored fat from the warehouse, right, and mobilize it into the bloodstream. But if you're then not using that fat that's been mobilized, it gets back into storage. So what'll happen is you have so much of those packages sitting on the loading dock, or glucose and glycogen and triglycerides trying to find somewhere to get stored. Bad things start happening, and it basically becomes like elevated levels of glucose leading to elevated levels of insulin, even if you're not eating large amounts of carbohydrates, right? So hopefully this makes sense just in terms of like it being elevated blood glucose, not from too many carbs, but elevated blood glucose from too few carbs, from too much exercise, or too little sleep.
So meaning like too much stress.
Exactly. So does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Like legit?
Yeah.
So this is also where we see things now that are being like kind of newly, and this term has actually come up with a couple different clients, because this is a really common avatar of a client that we work with, like the person who, like I was joking with, I did an assessment Friday, I think, with someone at the gym. And I told her, I was like, when I have someone that comes to us and they say, hey, I want to lose weight, and I haven't really exercised much ever, and haven't really like done much to clean up my diet. And I'm like, piece of cake. Like it's easy, right? Like, I mean, and it's not always, there's always considerations for problems to come up. But like in my experience, generally, if someone hasn't really worked out much, if they, like I posted a before and after transformation of a guy, Cody Wise, I think on Instagram I think his Instagram tag is Cody Wise Actor, or Cody Wise the Actor. I can't remember his Instagram tag right off the bat, but if you just search Cody Wise. Anyways, Cody lost 30 pounds, a little over 30 pounds in 3 months. Great transformation. It wasn't that hard, because to the best of my knowledge, like Cody hadn't really dieted a lot before that. I say it wasn't hard. Cody might have hated me for a little bit there because I took away some of his foods. And there were definitely some texts where he was like, can I have this? Can I have that? And I'm like, no. But it's easier for someone if they haven't done much dieting, if they haven't been training very often, versus someone who, and this is the clients that we're kind of specializing in, the people who are feeling like they feel like they're doing everything. They're doing the workouts, they're eating the super clean diets, They feel like they're doing everything right in their mind, according to what the internet's telling them, and yet and still they can't get the weight to move, right? Or it's like just that kind of skinny fat where they're in shape, but like there's just like that last 5 to 15 pounds kind of on their midsection that's just driving them crazy. So this is where we see things popping up now in like medical terminology as far as like lean PCOS, right? So PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, used to be more associated with like, again, overweight, like insulin resistance, blood sugar issues, things like that. I think there are other, I don't remember how many different types of PCOS, so it's not just that. But this is where we're seeing kind of this, I think it's just been the last couple of years where skinny and lean PCOS has become like, part of the medical lexicon. And you see people that are like skinny and like in shape, but also unhealthy, right? This is, you've probably heard somewhere that, someone can be lean and someone can be skinny, but like their lab markers are still like, I'll say atrocious, but like their lab markers are still kind of showing that they're not healthy, that they're not in good shape. And we've actually got something to talk about with our blood markers here in a little bit. But I did a quick search of the Googles before doing this podcast to just find a couple like statistics. And so a couple things I want to read here. There's just two different quotes. One was UAB researchers find that 40% of young American adults have insulin resistance and cardiovascular risk factors. So, because I was trying to find basically the percentage rate of increase of insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes like year by year. And it was like a 2-minute thing. I wasn't trying to dive super deep down rabbit holes because I wanted to get this up and out. But 40% of young Americans have insulin resistance, right? And they've talked about how like this might be the first generation that doesn't outlive their parents, that die before their parents die. So, I mean, just like we go to the grocery store and you just see these kids who, and granted now, like with the kids, that's going to be, I don't know that the kids are under like tremendous loads of stress, but dietary, like that's definitely affecting them. But the second quote is, diabetes is increasing at an alarming rate in the United States. According to the Center for Disease Control National Diabetes Statistics Report for 2020, cases of diabetes have risen to an estimated 34.2 million people. So that's like more than 10%. Again, that's 2020. I don't know what it was prior to that, but that opening sentence, increasing at an alarming rate, I don't think that's a good sentence for. So...
So clearly stress is a problem. It's not just what we're eating.
Right, exactly. So like if it was just a matter of eating less and exercising more, like anyone with the motivation to do so would be walking around with a 6-pack, taking selfies like the girl that we saw at the gym walking in. Like, and that's just, anyways, that's a whole other subject. She walks in and it's like she's taking selfies. Yeah, cool. But if you had the motivation, if it was just about eating less and exercising more, you like would just always lose weight, always get more and more defined. And like I said, that works to a point, and we'll give you some tips on kind of how to mitigate this as we come up. But it's not always going to work.
Right.
So
the question is then, how do we mitigate the stress?
Bingo, which is today's episode. So what we're going to talk about is basically what works for us. And we're going to break that down into 4 categories as far as training, diet, activities, and supplementation. I feel like every episode we do breaks down into training, diet, activities, or lifestyle and supplementation. But hey, it is what it is. Yeah. So let's get rolling right into this. You say that 5 times fast. Let's go rolling right into this. I guess that's not that bad. My favorite tongue twisters are Unique New York. Say that 5 times fast. It's a little deterrent, but
Unique New York. No,
yeah,
I already messed up.
Unique New York, Unique New York, Unique New York, Unique New York, Unique New York. Like that one's not that bad. Toy boat. Say
toy boat.
Yeah, I think toy boat you can do. Toy boat, if I do it like 5 times, this is like, I had a game called Motormouth when I was a kid. And it was, I can't remember the guy's name. He was like a really famous like speed talker, like just talks super fast. And it was like Motormouth was a game that just had like a whole pack of cards with just a bunch of tongue twisters on them. And Unique New York and toy boat were the two that always screwed me up because it's like my mouth just didn't work with it. But I've worked on it enough to see if I could do this again. Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat. Like you say it, and I think I did it right. It just doesn't sound like it's coming out of your mouth correctly. Anyways, training. So, the super long story short version of training for us is that we train very intuitively.
So like heart rate variability and grip strength, like how you feel.
Right. And I've mentioned those in the past. So heart rate variability and grip strength are great markers for sleep quality, like how well did you sleep, how much did you sleep, and your readiness to train. But if you, as far as like measuring heart rate variability, Oura rings, I think Apple watches do it. I would assume like, the Galaxy watches do it or whatever. Whoop straps, I think do it. So you can measure heart rate variability usually with an app. And then grip strength is, there are also like devices that you can get off of Amazon for like $25-$30 where you literally just grab the thing and squeeze it and see where your grip strength is at. Alan, if you're listening to this, no, I still have not gotten one. I know. I can hear you grinding your teeth at me already. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell people, like, if you have not had good sleep, your heart rate variability is going to be poor, and you're not going to have a high rating to train. If you have a bad night of sleep, I'm going to move this mic just a little bit so I don't knock it over. If you have a bad night of sleep, one of the first physical factors that will go is your grip strength. So if you don't sleep that well and the day's workout for you is deadlifts or shrugs or even like rows, something where you're holding and pulling, you're probably going to be a little bit compromised in your training for that day. So as far as like how do we do it, because I don't have the HRV or the grip strength, sorry Alan, the way we do it is like we listen to our bodies. So do you have to take stimulants to wake up and train? Do you just dread training? Do you like just like, oh God, I gotta knock this out? Like when normally you enjoy it, right? If you're someone who just doesn't like working out, that's just kind of like normal. It's not a big deal. But if you dread it when you normally enjoy it, that's a sign. Like if you've been thinking like, I just hate going to the gym lately, that's a sign that you need to check your style of training. Is your performance in the gym decreasing? So are you not feeling as strong? Are you not recovering as quickly from the workouts or even in between sets? Are you getting injured more easily? So these are all kind of markers that your biofeedback is telling you like you need to scale back the training. If those things aren't popping up, if you don't need a bunch of stimulants to get working out, if you feel like excited to work out, if you feel strong and everything, then you can push it a lot harder. So this is kind of one of the ways, or some of the ways rather, that we focus on adjusting the training accordingly day by day.
So all of these are signs then that you need to step back.
Right, exactly. So when I say train intuitively, basically I mean listening to your body, right? The biofeedback. So you can still stick to the script, meaning like if the day that you're going to work out, let's say tomorrow morning you wake up, we're recording this on a Monday. We're recording this on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say Monday in a second. That's where my head went. But we're recording this on a Sunday. We always record these on Sundays. Monday is like International Chest Day. I think everybody does chest on Mondays. So let's say tomorrow morning is chest day and you wake up and you feel great, then go push harder. If you wake up and those like, I'm not feeling the workout, I'm tired, I didn't sleep well, which I think Monday is kind of a common thing for people because typically people stay up a little bit later over the weekend and sleep in a little bit later on the weekend, and then it's hard to kind of get up on Monday morning. Mm-hmm. So if you need to, stick with the chest workout, but just scale it back. So what I mean by scale it back is do maybe different exercises, go a lighter weight, fuller range of motion, throw in some pause reps, throw in some slow sets where you're moving the weight, like, lifting it and lowering it like 5-6 seconds up and down instead of like 1 to 2 seconds up and down. So that essentially, like, you can stick to the script, but you should always reserve the right to call an audible in your training at any point in time. Like our training every week, basically it looks like this. Like we're going to do an upper body push, a lower body push, some cardio, we're going to do a upper body pull, a lower body pull, and then cardio again. And then like that 7th day is basically like recovery. Might be a light cardio day, might be a hike, might be a walk, whatever. So training intuitively means that we're going to stick to that kind of pattern, and maybe we do tomorrow morning we do upper push, and then Tuesday we didn't sleep good Monday night, so instead of doing lower push, we do cardio, and then we do lower push on Wednesday. And if for some reason we still didn't sleep good Tuesday night, then we're going to do lower push on Wednesday because we got to get it in. But we're going to, maybe do single leg work, full range lunges, step ups with like a slow eccentric, instead of like getting underneath a barbell and cranking out heavier squats, or getting above a barbell and doing heavy deadlifts. But again, if we feel good, we're definitely going to jump under the bar. And I'm not at a point where I'm wanting to like load up my back anymore with heavy squats. I might get some heavy front squats in, but back squats I'm not too crazy about. This woman's still a beast though. She still wants to do heavy back squats. I usually have to talk her off the ledge. So, but that's essentially what training intuitively looks like for us. Is we will incorporate different modalities into our training, so it's not just doing, every day, got to do heavy bench, got to do heavy squat, got to do heavy deadlift, got to do heavy rows. Like, if we feel good, we're going to go heavy. But that doesn't mean by any stretch of the imagination that if we step back, that doesn't mean that works. Some of the worst workouts, I think, and when I say worst, like just drenched in sweat, holy shit, that kicked my ass, are workouts where we scaled it back.
Right.
Because you're doing, maybe exercises that you're not used to doing with, again, isometrics, like holding it, or doing like drop sets or myo reps or something like that. You're basically, instead of doing heavier intensity, you're doing more volume and really kind of loading things up. So that's essentially what training intuitively looks like for us. So let's get into diet. So diet, the big thing here is going to be seasons of nutrition, and that is something that comes from Sam Miller and his podcast, Sam Miller Science. If anybody listening to this wants to get deeper into the weeds, number one, let us know at NutrientPodcast@gmail.com. But number two, Sam is, just fucking amazing in all of his podcasts. I've got on my podcast playlist, I've got probably 100-something episodes of different things downloaded, and I would say 40 of those are Sam Miller Science, just kind of going through and ticking things off. Mm-hmm. So if anybody wants to go down rabbit hole, Sam Miller Science is a really good podcast to do that. And I'm actually currently enrolled in Sam's FNMS, which is his Functional Nutrition and Metabolism School, and it is absolutely amazing material. So, and very, very, very worth the investment that we made in that. So, but basically, so seasons of nutrition is the idea, again, keeping it simple, it's the idea that instead of doing linear dieting, you periodize your dieting. So what I mean by that, did I say that word right?
Yeah. Periodize.
Yeah.
Periodize.
Yeah, it just sounded weird. I don't know. But instead of doing linear, so basically you're eating the same amount of calories, roughly, the same amount of protein, fats and carbs, roughly, and just kind of eating the same stuff until you get the results. Periodizing is the seasons of nutrition, is what he's talking about. It's you change how you eat based on kind of where you're at with your biofeedback, what your body is doing, where your goals are. So periodizing is changing how you eat, your calories, your macros, throughout the year. So you're not doing the same thing all the time.
So what happened to your directional dieting?
So great segue. I had a term I had kind of come up with. I don't think I got this from, I know I didn't get it from anybody. I don't think I've heard of anybody else talking about this, but I looked at seasons of nutrition, and I love the concept. But the thing that kind of came to me was directional dieting. So when I say directional dieting, it's just down, up, and sideways. So these are 3 different phases of dieting: down, up, and sideways. So if you're dieting down, then you're in a cutting phase. You're eating less. You're trying to lose weight. You're probably pushing a little bit harder in the workout. You're taxing yourself. You're creating conditions to push those four mobilizers that I talked about earlier. So you're trying to cause your body to lose body fat, ideally, right, and not much muscle, ideally. And you're going to only be dieting down for short bouts, like 1 to 3 months at max. I would say it's really going to be dependent on the scale. Like, if the scale's going down and everything is smooth, and like again, I mentioned Cody, the 30 pounds that he lost in the 3 months, it was pretty much smooth sailing. Like, set his macros, I didn't really have to adjust things too much. Like, we had I think 1 or 2 cheat meals the whole time just for his sanity's sake. But if the scale is moving and everything is sailing, and your sleep is good and you've still got your appetite and you're recovering from your workouts, then keep rolling. Also, if someone has a large amount of weight to lose, they're probably going to be able to diet down a little bit longer than someone who has that last 5 to 10 pounds to lose. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. So that's down. Dieting up would basically be just reverse dieting. So you're taking diet breaks. Maybe you're doing a 5-2 diet, so where you're eating in a deficit 5 days a week, and then you eat in a surplus 2 days a week. So it's basically dieting up is just you're doing a period of time where you're increasing your calories and your macronutrients. And it's important, one thing I want to mention, when you're dieting down, because you're eating less, you're also probably putting yourself into a position where you're not getting the micronutrients, your vitamins and your minerals and things like that. When you start playing around with the levels of vitamins and minerals that you're not getting through your diet, number one, it's important to supplement them. But you also want to look at, again, this goes back to the blood work, you want to look at where is your testosterone at? Where's your estrogen at? Right? What's your thyroid doing? Your insulin that we talked about, right? So not getting proper micronutrients because you're eating less is something to take into account. And then when you're dieting up, that you're getting more food, you're probably getting more of your micronutrients as well as your macronutrients. So, but dieting up, you also kind of want to be keeping it in short bouts. So it's basically however long, so let's say you diet down and the weight loss slows down and your sleep goes to shit and you're just cranky and you're irritable and you're dreading your workouts, I would take a break and diet up and do that for as long as it takes to get the biofeedback back to normal. Also, for a more applicable thing, if you're going to diet up, I would do it in small increments, 10 to 20% of your calories, and that doesn't have to be per week, right? If you're eating a certain amount of calories and you want to only increase it by 10% and see how that goes for a week or two, see how you feel, how does your body adjust. Oftentimes, I've mentioned before, consulting with a clinic that does kind of extreme weight loss for people. And oftentimes when people come to me, they've been in a big deficit. So when I start working with them, we just increase their calories and all of a sudden the weight starts dropping again. So that doesn't mean that you just diet up for a week and then go back to dieting down. But it's you're trying to just increase your calories by little amounts, maybe over the course of, weeks and months, to where you can get back to feeling normal, back to feeling like yourself, back to feeling like you want to work out. And again, it's going to be a short bout. So, and then dieting sideways is basically your maintenance. So this is where you're kind of trying to stay in that same 3 to 5 pounds. The scale is hovering. It's not really a plateau because it's planned out rather than frustration from the scale not moving. But you're staying kind of in a comfort zone with the calories. And this is where you're going to probably spend most of the time during the year, essentially, I don't know percentage wise, but 70% of the year, 60-70% of the year spent in sideways and kind of maintaining calories, and then 10 to 15, maybe 20% of the time in a dieting down or a dieting up phase, depending on your goals. So
yeah, I think we could be more structured, but we basically periodize our dieting throughout the week.
Yeah, 100%, and that's goodness gracious. Sorry about the yawn there. So I'm just proud of myself that I didn't take a nap after that run. I was blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely, I would say for pretty much all of 2022, we have done intuitive eating. So what I mean by that is instead of doing that, the dieting up, down, and sideways, on a monthly basis, we would basically diet up, down, and sideways kind of throughout the week. And I mean, we got, I think, good results with it. I feel pretty good, and I know you're like real close to your end game goal.
Right.
But
According to our blood work.
yeah, so the blood work that we got in, and I should further kind of flesh out like what we've been doing. So like we'll basically be in a deficit where we're trying to keep it at that, ideally 400, 500, 600, calorie, 700 calorie deficit throughout the week. And then maybe have like a refeed day during the week as well. So in that refeed day, for her, it could get up to what, 2,500 calories maybe?
I think I've done 28 before.
2,800.
Yeah.
And for me, this year, I think the highest I got over 5,000 on a day. I was looking through some old Google photos from like 2018, and I saw one in there because I'll take screenshots occasionally, just like, whoa, look at that number. And I think I had, what did I say, 6,300.
500 grams of fat.
Yeah, I had 500 grams of fat that day, but that was back in 2018. So, but that's basically what we've done is like be in a modest deficit 5-6 days of the week, and then have a refeed 1 or 2 days of the week. But like she mentioned, our blood work. So when our blood work came through, we had some different markers that suggested, I guess, long story short, that we have been in too low of a caloric deficit for too long. So I shouldn't say too low, but definitely in a caloric deficit for too long. So we have not been, the weekly periodizing of the diet for us, I think, is not doing it anymore. So I think what we're going to do is kind of go into a diet up phase and increase the food and increase the calories and increase the carbohydrates, and kind of ride that out. Now, I know we're also talking about increasing the activity. So we're kind of walking a fine line right now. We're just kind of experimenting. We're basically eating more and moving a little bit more, but we're also trying to make sure that we're sleeping more too. So,
Right.
yeah. So that's basically the plans going forward, is just to kind of increase things. And so if all of those mobilizers that I've been talking about are basically going to come in when your calories are too low, when you're stressed out, and one way to mitigate that and let them kind of take some time off and go on a vacation themselves is to eat more foods, specifically more carbohydrates. So, but that's where it's a fine line, because you don't want to eat more and blow right back up, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of, again, 10 to 20% increases, which is what we're doing. So instead of me kind of being at like a 2,200, 2,300 on an average day with like a refeed of, typical refeeds for me are like up to maybe 3,000 or 3,400. The 5,000 is not very often. Instead of me doing that, I'm basically increasing my calories to like 27, 2,800. For her, you're usually like 12 to 15. And we're trying to get you to with your occasional refeeds of like 25 to 28. Right. But we're trying to kind of get her to like a consistent 18-ish, maybe 19, right? Like right now it's 18 with like a goal of trying to get her like 19, 2,000, see how she does with that. So, and again, if you're hearing these numbers and thinking like that can't help, I have clients who, all I do is train them. They don't do the nutrition coaching. We do nutrition coaching, we do training, we do it all: nutrition coaching, training, lab result reviews, supplement reviews, and all that. But I have clients who only do the training side of things. We don't really talk nutrition, or if we do, it's just kind of like talking shop during the sessions. And they have a hard time losing kind of that midsection weight, right? They're, if it's a guy, they have kind of that like soft kind of, pouch on their stomach, can't get rid of it. Maybe the love handles, and women, it's kind of like, I guess the saddle bags. I hate calling it that, but like kind of on the back of the hips or the thighs, and also kind of that little pooch on the stomach. And when I ask them what are they eating, they're always chronically underfed. Yeah. And this is where, I want to tell them, like, look, my 5'3" wife is eating about 3 times the amount of food that you're eating right now. So that's one thing. Like, you've got to fuel your body if you're trying to, look like the superhero that like we talk about. So, all right. So, done with diet, done with training. Let's go into activities.
Yay! This is the fun part.
It quite literally is the fun part. That it is.
So this is where you want to do things that recharge you.
Exactly. I'm sorry. I'm stretching. I'm so sore from yesterday. Like my back.
And today?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Legs are sore, but I'm sitting down, so that doesn't bother me right now. But it's my back. Like I asked her earlier, I was like, "Have you ever worked your back so hard that it hurts to take a deep breath?" Like that's kind of where I'm at. Like I was like, "Oh god." It's like every time I breathe, we hammered back on Friday morning, and then again a little bit. More, yeah, I did some more yesterday, so just can't get enough of the back. But so yes, this is. The activities part is like you're wanting to look at doing things that recharge you, that refill you. And I'll ask you, like, this is kind of a crazy simple question, but it's something that oftentimes when I ask people, they're like, so when was the last time you did something that left you feeling recharged or refilled afterwards, right? Not something that's just like relaxing, not drinking a wine or a beer at night or getting a shot of vodka or, eating an edible or smoking a joint or something like that. Not, whatever.
Stuff in your face.
Right. Not medicating with food. Like, because generally at the end of those things, you might wake up groggy or you regret having the food or eating the ice cream or whatever it is. When's the last time you just did something fun? When's the last time you did something like you lost track of time? When is the last time that you did something after you were done, you were like, shit, I feel really good. I'm glad I did that. So I'll ask you that. And now I'm going to ask my wife, Holly, when was the last time? And not only the last time, but like, what are the things that you refill your battery? What are the things that recharge you? This might give some people some ideas.
So the last time I did something recharging was this morning.
Hey.
But things for me that are recharging, I love art. I love drawing. I love painting. Currently, I got an iPad Pro a couple weeks ago. Has it been a couple weeks ago? Yeah.
Yeah, about a month ago.
But, so I'm just delving into, like, digital art and tutorials and things like that. So doing that, like, I can get lost in that for, like, hours.
Very
like,
true.
It's so fun, and I love it, and I look forward to it. Other things are, like, reading. I love reading. I love reading in general. I'd say I'm more on the fictional side. Yeah. But I, like, things like Harry Potter and, like, just all these cool worlds that you can get lost in. Relax me. Going for walks. A lot of times, like in the morning or even, at sunset, we'll go for a walk together and like you feel the nice breeze and you see the sunrise coming up and it's just so relaxing and beautiful. And anytime I get to spend with Andy really is relaxing. Like he's my person, so he's my best friend. So just being with him, being around him is very relaxing and calming to me. So, and then other thing probably is like taking a nap. Yeah. I feel so much better after I take a nap.
Naps are awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They're wasted.
You're my back rod.
Yes.
My Bonnie and Clyde ride or die.
Yeah.
So, yep.
What about you?
So, so some of the same ones, obviously, like going for walks. That's something that's like kind of a morning routine, and like I'll get another one in like midday if I can. But I know going back to her being lost in the art, that's something that like it's a morning thing where I get my, I do my journal and a little bit of reading and everything that I want to do as my morning ritual, and then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna yawn. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go for a walk real quick, and she's like, hang on, let me do this, like one more thing and one more blah 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 blah, and like it definitely gets lost in the art. Normally she's like normally she's like, all right, let's go, but yeah, if she's doing art, it's definitely like I gotta wait. So but the walking is definitely huge. Again, reading, I'm more of the nonfiction side. I think we've talked about this in the past on the podcast. I'm generally always like reading multiple books. I usually am reading something related to nutrition, most likely reading something related to training. I'm really big on philosophy and business.
Mindset.
Yeah, mindset. Like I say self-help books, but those kind of have a negative connotation. Like you can do it. Like it's not that. It's just like actually applicable stuff that you can, well, apply and change your life by doing it. So, yeah, I'm always reading those kind of books. Outside of that, I mean, like the reading, the walking, again, spending time with you, like that's a no-brainer. It's hard for me between the two of us. Like, it's definitely, we talked about this on the podcast too. Like, it's hard for me to kind of unwind and relax. So
Energizer bunny.
well, it's, I mean, that, but it's not like I don't want to sit down. I don't want to sit still. It's just kind of like go, 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 go. So it has been a struggle for me trying to find ways, because of like the 20 years with like drugs and alcohol. Like, those were always kind of my go-to, which is why I'm also, kind of bringing those things up and hinting to people like, hey, there's a better way to do this. I think, TV started to kind of take the place of that stuff, and that's where I'm selling the TV. I don't
Right.
care how much we spent for it. Like, I'm about to sell it for like $100. So I got on top of that really quick, because I didn't want TV becoming the new drugs and alcohol or food. So, like, maybe going to a Marvel movie
I was gonna
if
say
those
Marvel
come out from
movies,
time to time. We went and saw Bullet Train a couple
Really
last
good.
weekend. Yeah, last weekend.
Yeah, last weekend.
That was really
So
good.
good.
So we will see movies from time to time. Other than that, like, again, going out to hike, spending time in nature, maybe going to like putt, just like activities, right? Like going out, and instead of spending money on dinner and a movie, it's like, let's spend money on an experience. Let's go and like enjoy something. And even like going out to eat is fine. Like, it's not a problem. We went out to Bullet Train. We also went and got, a couple burgers at a burger joint. So that was nice. But just doing things that are essentially getting out of the house. We've even talked about, because like the day to day for us is just kind of like grind. We've even talked about like just going to get like a hotel room in downtown Nashville for like a Friday and Saturday, and still doing what we're doing, still working and working out and all that, but just be in a different environment, kind of switch it up. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you're watching the video, you can see kind of like my head is flanked by two bookshelves.
A library.
And then, yeah, there are bookshelves off to the side, too. I think we're just shy of 500 books now. So books are definitely a major part in our life. If I'm not doing that, then it's also like puzzles. I love doing puzzles. So art is not my jam, because I have no artistic ability. I know I could work on it.
Your dad, it's in there.
Yeah, but yeah, so those are pretty much, I hate to say like training too, like having a gym in the house. Like, I'll go in and do a couple sets on triceps if I want to, or just, again, walk a lap or read a book. Meditation is really good. Like, I'll lay down, just kind of cover my face with a shirt, and like, cover out the light and just close my eyes and meditate. Like, that's a good one. So yeah, so all right, let's get into supplements. And actually, before we do, I just want to hit on the activity side of things, because like, I think the four of these: training, diet, activities, and supplements. Diet and activity is something that most people listening to this are at least familiar with, if not actively doing. If you're not actively doing those things, then start doing them, right? And this is where context is king, because you may not be actively really focusing on a diet or really focusing on a training situation. Start doing it, and that'll improve your stress. You might be deep months or years into a diet, and months or years into training, and your body needs a break. And it's like, diet and training can be kind of scaled back, right? So diet and training are things that like you can kind of modulate. Do I need to do more of it? Do I need to do less of it? Do I need to change up what I'm doing to do more of it, or change up what I'm doing to do less of it? And then the supplements that we're about to get into are kind of like, I don't want to say band-aids by any stretch, because they do help. But like, it's still kind of not a long-term solution, right? Like, some of this, like theanine is a good supplement. It'll help you relax, but like, if you're taking theanine every single day to relax, well, sooner or later your body gets used to the theanine, and it's just as a new baseline. So you're going to have to find something else. I want to hit home on these activities a little bit harder, rather than just kind of like rambling about what we do, because activities is something like, do something that you can get lost in, right? Like Holly mentioned, it's art for her. Maybe it's doing your own art, or getting on Instagram, or going to a museum, right? Looking at somebody else's art. Maybe it's listening to music, or creating your own music, right? Or just hell, remixing music, whatever the thing is. Maybe it's going for walks, maybe it's going for hikes, maybe it's going bowling or playing pool or going to a pool or whatever it is. But, and usually when I ask people, like, what is the activity that refills you, that recharges you, initially the answer is like, I don't know, I can't really think of anything. But then as we talk, things become like those things come out. Like I elicit those things out of the people, and they start, oh well, when I was young, I used to love doing this, and you know what, I did do this a couple weeks ago and a couple months ago, and you start kind of putting those things together. So again, like going back to something we've talked about in the past on the podcast is, when you ask your brain a better question, you'll typically get a better answer. So start to ask yourself, like, what's something I could do to refill myself? What's something I could do to recharge myself? And incorporate that into at least like a weekly basis, if not more often than that. So
I think like a good analogy, I guess, of what you told me as far as like these supplements that stuck with me is just like they help your cup, help you get a bigger cup to handle the stress.
The stress cup, yeah. And that's one of the supplements on here, like some of the adaptogens, like that's exactly what they do. But so, and that it is like some of these supplements, like what she's talking about is there's an analogy of like everybody has a stress cup, and like everybody's kind of size of stress cup is different, right? Some people have a little tiny thimble and they're like, I can't handle this, like the smallest drop of a hat. I won't mention names, but other people have a 3-gallon jug or a 10-gallon bucket, or you can handle a lot more stress. But some of these supplements do basically like just allow you to handle more stress, be more resilient to stress, essentially. So but yeah, so let's get into this list. So basically, all of this list, they are things, the thing they have in common is they are things that create a sense of calm. And things that I have not, some of it is on here, but some things that I left off of this that can help your body be more resilient to stress, that by themselves don't necessarily help you relax. But when you're stressed and those adrenals are taxed and they're overworked, you're going to be burning through higher levels of vitamin C and higher levels of zinc and higher levels of B vitamins and higher levels of magnesium. So even though they're not on this list, it would be important if you're in kind of a stress situation to make sure that you're getting adequate vitamin C, like 1 to 2 grams a day. Make sure that you're getting a good quality B vitamin. Thorne Research has a really good couple different brands. Excuse me, Life Extension, Jaro or Yarrow, however you say it. Like there are good quality B vitamins out there. Again, vitamin C, B vitamins, zinc, vitamin D, I didn't mention that, and magnesium. Like those are like staples that you should be getting. Also, I don't know if I'll get hate for this from any future sponsors of the podcast, but I was telling a client this morning, basically if you're going to a Walmart or a Walgreens or just like a typical department store, super center, something like that, and getting your vitamins and minerals, they're probably not a great quality brand. Even if you're going to like specific vitamin stores and supplement stores, I'd say 97% of the stuff on there is not going to be very good quality. A lot of times, because the margins are not very good, even if it was like a company that started out with a really good product, when they sign on, excuse me, with some of these other supplement stores, their margins get really tight and they have to start kind of compromising on the ingredients in that product. So I would say, and I'm going to mention one specific website that I love, and I mean I've got like 60 plus of their products in the cupboards. And I'll mention, Nootropics Depot is the website that I'm talking about, nootropicsdepot.com. They're just absolutely fucking amazing with all of their like level of quality, level of service, level of options and offers and all that. But there are a few others that like maybe I don't think Nootropics Depot has like a B complex. Like they have different types of B vitamins on there. You'll also, if you get on there, if you're not new to any of this stuff, it's going to be a rabbit hole. But the other, like if you can't find something on Nootropics Depot, just get on Amazon and look up, like, again, Thorne Research, Life Extension, Jarrow. I'm trying to think of the other brands that we have in there. I think like Douglas Laboratories is one. My client this morning mentioned Metagenics. They're a decent one. So those are the only ones, kind of brands that are coming to mind. Source Naturals, Now Foods. Those are two other ones. Now Sports. Now Sports or Now Foods. I don't know. It's Now. What color is the Now bottle?
Orange.
Yeah, orange bottle with like blue lettering now. So those are all like generally pretty good brands. So, but okay, so let's go off a list. What I put 10 on here altogether? Yeah, so we got 10 different products all together. So just kind of off the top of the head when I put this together. But number one,
Theanine.
Yep. So, and if you're like, are you going to break it down or not? Theanine. That's all I got.
It helps me.
It does, yeah. It's like a daily driver. It's a daily driver when she's feeling stressed or anxious for her. It's just like, she tells me, "Can you give me something for anxiety?" Like, go get the theanine. Also, number 7, when I come up to it, a lot of their blends have theanine in there. So L-theanine is something that you can get, again, all over the place. I believe Nootropics Depot has it, but you can also get it from Amazon. 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams will give you kind of a nice sense of calm. If you have trouble sleeping, 300, 400 milligrams like could potentially just knock you out. So theanine for me is kind of a hit or miss. A hit or miss one. Sometimes it helps me relax. Other times it's like if I've done it, again, my system is super sensitive though. So I don't know if I'm trying to burp or hiccup or what's going on. My system is super sensitive though, so like sometimes theanine will work great for a couple days if I use it, and then like all of a sudden it just either doesn't work or it almost kind of potentially makes me anxious. I'm not sure, but maybe I'm just an anxious individual. I don't know. So I'm not. I'm an Energizer Bunny. I don't feel anxious though. So number 2, Holy Basil, and this is again. I mean, it's like basil, like the spice, right? This is holy basil. It's also called Tulsi, Tulsi. If you want a really good, one of my kind of favorite quick stacks is holy basil with astragalus. They're both really good as far as like a calm sense of clean energy. And they also have some additional, I think, like liver support and immune system support as well. But again, anything that's going to help reduce stress will have a nice amount of immune system support. So number 3, glycine. That is just an amino acid. It is higher in things like collagen. You can get glycine powder just as bulk, and it actually has like a not only a sweet like taste to it, kind of not as sweet as sugar, but sweet. It's also got like the mouthfeel, like the granularity, if that's a word. I think that's a word. Granularity.
I think so.
Sounds like a word. It's granular like sugar as well. So glycine is something that you could take, I mean, hell, you can take up to like a teaspoon a day. Serving size is probably going to be more like a gram, upwards of like 5 grams. But you can take that to promote a sense of calm. There's also been some research, I think, that shows if people take glycine prior to bed, it doesn't necessarily induce sleep from what I remember, but it's like it more people taking glycine before bed reported a better quality of sleep than what they would normally have. So number 4,
Magnesium glycinate.
Magnesium glycinate. She just says things so much cuter than I do. I'm like, magnesium glycinate.
You're not.
It's like magnesium glycinate. So magnesium glycinate is basically magnesium. You may find magnesium glycinate or magnesium bisglycinate. I don't know if it's the exact same thing or not. I would assume not, because the wording is a little bit differently. But basically, it's magnesium bound to glycine. And again, it's great for kind of a sleepy time thing. It's another one of those that's kind of hit or miss. Like sometimes there is some interplay, and this is getting into the weeds a little bit, but there's some interplay with glycine and I think the glutamate receptors in your brain. So from what I remember, because I remember seeing someone mentioning on the interweb, so who knows, but someone mentioning that glycine caused them to be kind of restless, and I think we've noticed that once or twice.
Yeah.
But we've also noticed that glycine and magnesium glycinate like knock us the hell out. I think it's more like, are you doing it every single day? Well, I think it's maybe like a saturation point where you've taken it so much that like it's not doing the calming effect anymore. Now it's starting to like spill over into glutamate, and it's being more excitatory. So, but magnesium glycinate is a really good form of magnesium, and if it works for you, do it, but maybe don't do it every single night. Another really good form of magnesium that helps promote like a sense of calm, but also like a sense of like awareness. So like if it's, afternoon or like earlier in the evening and you still have work to do for a few hours and you don't want to be just like brain dead, there's actually a specific Nootropics Depot product called Clarimag. So like clarity and magnesium, Clarimag, CLARIMAG. Again, nootropicsdepot.com. If anybody's not sure how to spell that, nootropics, N-O-O, tropic. So nootropicsdepot.com is how you spell nootropicsdepot.com. I just made up an ad for them. I should get paid for that. And then Clarimag is the product. So, and again, C-L-A-R-I mag, Clarimag. So that's, again, like something I'll take if it's, noon, and because we go to bed at, 6:30, 7 o'clock. If it's noon and I still have a lot of things to do, I'll take the Clarimag, and that'll usually give me a sense of calm and clarity. So, number 6.
Fish oil.
Fish oil.
Carlson's very finest.
Yep. So we usually, you usually do the liquid fish oil, and then I got, again, Nootropics Depot. I swear I need to have an affiliate link with them for as much as I buy from them, but I'm not paid for this. But Nootropics Depot has a couple different powdered forms of fish oil. Unfortunately, it still tastes like fish oil. Can't shake that. But the one I use is, I think it's pronounced Avalum, so Availom. And it's powdered. So I don't know if I have AFib, or what were the other things, like not a murmur, but
dang, what was it?
Right, I don't know. It's something
where it flutters like that.
Yeah,
something.
It's people listening are probably like shouting it out, but
Yeah.
Something where my heart, from time to time, it hasn't done it at all for like a week and a half now, 2 weeks.
Good.
So, but then, like, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast in the past, and shit, how many times have I said, I think I've mentioned this in the podcast in the past right now. Like on the 4th of July, we went to a pool party, and I had like 13 times where my heart just kind of was like, like just little flutter, kind of didn't know what was going on. And looking into it, fish oil, if someone has AFib, fish oil can actually increase the number of episodes you have of that AFib. So I wanted to try the powder and see, because fish oil is still, like, the DHA is really good for your brain, and EPA is really good for your heart, I believe, for your cardiovascular. So I still wanted to get it. And so far, knock on wood, I've been doing 500 milligrams of the powdered fish oil, and definitely noticed the mental benefits, and I have not had any heart flutters whatsoever. But fish oil is actually really good at promoting a sense of calm if you're getting, again, a good quality brand and an adequate amount of it. Those are two things to take into account. So if you're getting, I don't know, I'm not going to throw any shade at specific brands, but if you're getting like the Walmart on the shelf brand of, thank you, if you're getting like the Walmart brand of fish oil, not even the Walmart brand, but like what is it, Sundown or something like that. I can see the bottle, I can't think of what it's called. But if you're getting fish oil from Walmart or a grocery store, or even most vitamin shops, it's probably not the best quality of it. So, because you don't want something that's been sitting on a shelf and gets heated and then it gets rancid and then it's actually harmful and not good for you. So I had mentioned theanine being in another series of products, and this is Source Naturals Serene Science. So Source Naturals is the brand, and then Serene Science is like a line of products that
great products
that they have. Yeah, and Holly, again, like with her anxiety thing, I mean, we have all of these things, right? Yeah, we literally have everything on this list. So when it comes to her kind of if she has an anxious day, it's like grab one of the things, but just don't do them too many days in a row, basically. So, Source Natural, Serene Science. I think we have 3 different products from them. We have the GABA Calm, Optimistic, which is a pretty good one, and then there's one that a client had that she didn't. It's not that she didn't like it. She was allergic to basil, and it had basil in it, and that was called, I think, Relora. I think is the name of that brand or of that product. I think I could be wrong on that.
I just noticed it helps me like every few days to take it.
Yeah.
Whereas like my nature's more GABA, and so I feel like if I take that, every few days, I feel.
You're talking the Optimistic?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel great.
Yep. And this might be something that we cover in an upcoming episode. We'll talk about this here at the end of this episode. But what she's saying when she's a GABA in nature, there's a thing that you can do called the Braverman test. It's spelled just like it sounds, Braverman, bravermantest.com, I think. And it's basically, I don't know if it's been like, verified by research or not, but like it's basically the idea is you take this test, it's a bunch of true or false, and it's going to tell you your dominant nature of like the 4 big neurotransmitters, so dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA, and serotonin. So it's going to tell you your dominant nature, and then it's going to tell you kind of your deficiencies. So if your dominant nature is like GABA, like Holly, she's going to be, you're probably going to be a little more introverted, a little more quiet. And if you're, she's like, as she waves. If your deficiency is also your dominant nature, then that's like you want to make sure that you're supporting that the most because it's, you're deficient in the thing that your brain is like needing the most. So, right. And for me, like, I think my dominant natures are dopamine and acetylcholine. So again, dopamine would be like the get up and go do stuff, be excited to conquer things. Then acetylcholine is learning and, curiosity, which I mean, ever since I was a little kid, like I was telling somebody the other day, I'm sticking tweezers in sockets and trying to put forks in toasters and color fooding our dog, throwing expensive makeup kits into the toilet to make a magic potions. I mean, I was like, most kids are exploratory, but I was on a whole other level. But so that's the Braverman test, and like I think my deficiency was GABA, so I have a hard time unwinding and calming down. So, and like I said, we might do a more in-depth episode on that. So why I got you off like side of the camera. Come on over here. That is number 7, Source Naturals. Number 8, we have adaptogens. So this is an entire family of things, hundreds if not thousands of products in that. This is where you're really going to get into like traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. But the few kind of that come to mind that we have that I'm familiar with would be ashwagandha, rhodiola, and ginseng. And there are different types of those 3, and they're going to have different effects. But those are definitely things to look into. They have other benefits too. So like ashwagandha also can help like with thyroid health. It can improve thyroid activity. Rhodiola, I think, can help with serotonin. I think that's what it is. Ginseng is another one. Like if you kind of like the Claramag, if it's later in the day and you want something that'll give you like a mental boost, but not like energy, like not make it hard to go to sleep, ginseng would be something that you could use there. So adaptogens, just as a whole family, there's a bunch of stuff out there. We might even do a whole episode on adaptogens in the future. We'll see. So 2 more. Again, these are like Nootropic Depot specific, not products, but I would recommend to go there for these. Skullcap. You also might find it as, I think, Baikal Skullcap, and it's Baikal, and then Skullcap, one word, just like it sounds, Skullcap. And then Apigenin. Both of those, I think, are plant extracts, and both of those will help you, again, relax, sense of calm. You can take them before bed to help you, relax and get a better night of sleep. And Apigenin, because I kind of flew past that, Apigenin. Apigenin, for any guys listening to this, so the series that we're going to be getting into, this will apply more to here in a second. But so one of the things that's kind of negative side effect to increasing testosterone could potentially also be increasing your estrogen through aromatase activity, right? So part of the problem with that could lead to an increase in prolactin, which could increase like man boobs, or so they say, moobs. So apigenin will help lower prolactin, and there's actually another benefit to that, is that apigenin is similar to theanine, will give you a calm, like a sense of calm, but also productivity. Prolactin and dopamine have an inverse relationship, meaning when prolactin goes up, dopamine goes down. When dopamine goes up, prolactin goes down. So apigenin will actually lower prolactin. It suppresses prolactin. I don't know how strongly, but so it's not something that like you take apigenin and you get wired. It's like you take apigenin and it's just kind of like, again, calm sense of being able to focus. But that lowering of the prolactin will also have a nice benefit to like helping to prevent moobs, as Holly so poetically stated. So, all right. So the big wrap up for this episode. Hopefully you got something out of the training and the diet and the activities and the supplement list. If you have questions on any of that stuff, again, please send them to Nootropics. Good Lord. Not Nootropics.
Fanboy.
Jesus. Fanboy.
Nutrient.
Yeah. NutrientPodcast@gmail.com. If I had the time, I would edit that out, but I'm not worried about it. So if you have questions about anything that we talked about, you can send it to Nootropics Depot, but they might be like, who the hell are you talking about? Send it to NutrientPodcast@gmail.com. So get ready and get excited for the next few episodes because we are bringing the heat.
The hormonal heat.
No.
The hormonal heat.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so okay, yeah. We're bringing the hormonal heat. Maybe that's going to be the working title of them.
Yeah.
Hormonal heat. That sounds like a movie that came out in the 80s. Like Don Johnson and Billy D. Williams.
Or a woman having a hot flash.
Yeah, that too. But no, so we're bringing the hormonal heat because it's important to understand how to optimize your hormones specifically. And we've kind of touched on some of them, insulin, again, being a hormone. We've touched on some of them in these recent episodes. But you want to know how to optimize those hormones if you are plateaued or if you're feeling lethargic or potentially even depressed or if you're feeling down. Many times or sometimes when someone goes into the doctor from, feeling depressed, they don't even bother looking at their sex hormones. They never run a panel. They just throw them on an antidepressant when it's like one of the main symptoms of being deficient in vitamin D is lethargy. She doesn't feel like depressed, but like, being able to fall asleep at the drop of a hat. We looked up the list of symptoms of it. And I know there were other ones on there. And you said it was like
11 out of 15.
Yeah. So like a doctor won't even check that. You're depressed. Like they don't put those two things together. So we're going to talk about hormones. We're going to do a couple different episodes coming up talking about hormones, what the effects of them being low are, what the effects of them being high are. We're going to talk about lab work. So when you go get a blood panel done, they're going to tell you like so many things are in range or out of range. The problem is that range is based on the standard American, and the standard American is not healthy, right? I talked about in the past, like 88% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. So only 12% of the population are considered metabolically healthy right now. So when you're told that your numbers are in range, that's compared to the standard Western range, right? For instance, I just had a client, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, say that, their blood panel came back and everything was in range. I was like, can I take a look at it? And I brought it home and 21 markers were not in range when you compare them to the functional range, to the optimal range, where you want to be if you want to be healthy, right? The doctor said everything's in good order, everything is in range. 21 of his things were either like at the very end of the spectrum, either too high or too low, or way past too high or too low. So that's something to think about, because if you're getting blood work, you want to understand like what is really the healthy range that I need to be in, not the standard American range. And then again, if something is high, what's causing it. If something is low, what's causing it? And then even then, we're going to talk about if something is high, these are the things that you can do to bring it down. If something is low, these are the things you're going to be able to do to bring them up. So with that, next week we will be back with episode number 22 as we begin our new series on hormones.
Hormonal heat.
Official working title, potentially. And I'm not sure which one we're going to do in order. We'll probably just start out with the two big ones right off the bat, but we're going to cover testosterone and estrogen. That'll probably be the next episode, episode 22. We'll get into the weeds on the superficial weeds on testosterone and estrogen. We're going to talk about the thyroid on an episode. We're going to talk about insulin and the four mobilizers in more depth and detail than we did today. There may be more. I'm trying to think of other hormones that we might want to cover. We can definitely talk about, lab markers. Again, if you guys have questions on lab markers, NutrientPodcast@gmail.com. And I think we might do some episodes on neurotransmitters too, because neurotransmitters are really big in just, again, like motivation, learning, a sense of calm, right? If you're taking a drink to relax, it's because it's acting on your GABA receptors that helps you calm down. So you could do something else that doesn't throw you into a caloric issue, that doesn't destroy your digestive health, that doesn't lower your testosterone. Drinking lowers your testosterone. These are things to talk about and to think about. So we might do a series on neurotransmitters kind of intertwined with the series on hormones, the hormonal heat series, as it were. So
Thanks
with
for
that,
tuning in, guys.
thank you for tuning in. We will be back next week with episode number 22 as we begin our hormonal series. Have a great rest of your day.
Remember to rate and review us, please. We
Yes.
appreciate everyone.
Rate and review, subscribe and share, guys, if you aren't already. If someone shared this with you and you are a new listener, a first-time listener, please subscribe, spread the good word. That's all we're trying to do. So,
Yeah. Have a great week.
have a great week, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Later.